Welcome to Let's Play Might and Magic 6. This is episode 30. Thanks for dropping by. This is the first of one of these that I've done in a few weeks, so I'm maybe a little rusty. I'm going to be commentating over footage that I recorded a few weeks ago. I'll come back later to why I've skipped a few without any notice. We're going to leave Freehaven behind today and go and find, try and find some of the three lords, the major lords, that we haven't yet found. There are two stables here in Freehaven. That first one went to Darkmoor, which we don't want to go to yet, but let's ride this creepy staring horse to the town of Whitecap up in the Frozen Highlands. Frozen Highlands is up on the north-central part of the map. There's nothing north of it. And as you can see, it's a pretty cold place. We're going to go basically door to door through Whitecap and find what we can find here. We have a few skill horseshoes unused there, which we've just assigned evenly to our characters. Each of those grants another 2 skill points to each character. Some really beautiful ambient music in this town. In fact, I don't think I've talked about the music in this game yet, so far in this Let's Play, which is pretty impressive given I've had to fill time for 30 episodes that I've not mentioned it. The music to this game was written by the in-house team at New World Computing, Steve Backer, Rob King, and Paul Romero, who also worked on the later Might and Magic games through to 9, and most of the Heroes games as well. Also working on this, or credited with this, is Jennifer Wang. This, according to Moby Games, is Jennifer's only game credit of any kind. So I'm not sure whether she was another composer or one of the featured instrumentalists or what. I couldn't find anything about her. But the other three, yes, as I said, they worked on several of New World's games, and Rob King was the main composer on EverQuest as well. So his music is probably the most heard of all of it. There were live instrumentals, not just, it wasn't an entirely synth soundtrack. This thing, as you can hear, there's some fantastic guitar on this track, although it keeps dropping out every building that we go in. There was even a live choir on some tracks in this soundtrack. It really is a fantastic soundtrack. It's one of the best parts of the game, in my opinion. We're just doing a few upgrades based on some of the stuff that we are finding in the stores here. We gave a couple of characters better bows, and now we're improving the cloak that someone is wearing. I'm not going to go blow by blow as we go through Freehaven, as we go through Whitecap, because there's really not a lot to say. But we will find that the Lord on this map is actually not in the town here. We need to leave the town to find him, but we will do that after we've gone door to door here. Okay, so why the break from doing episodes of this? Well, it wasn't announced, and it wasn't really anticipated either. Actually, sort of back in August, I was doing really well in terms of having a buffer of videos ahead of me so that I could continue uploading weekly for quite a while, even if I was had an interruption producing videos. And I was really hoping in the last couple of weeks of August to really increase that buffer to about 6. That unfortunately didn't happen. What happened was I got a cold, and I ended up with this tickly cough that lasted several weeks and left me basically unable to record. So I ended up, instead of having a really decent insurance of episodes that I could carry on uploading. I ended up essentially going into a period where I wasn't going to be able to make videos with very few in the bank. And I ended up burning off much faster than I expected the ones that I'd already made, and then I had to bring in other videos that I had to bring in other videos that I'd actually been working on and wasn't intending to release until I had more of those, and just in order to have something to upload every week, because YouTube really likes it when you know, upload regularly. I started alternating episodes of a series that I'd only just started called The Shipyard, and the series that I'd just been working on occasionally and was hoping to get about half a dozen and then just burn them off in a sort of off-season run, called Something You Can Get for Free. But I only had like 3 of each of those episodes, and I had no choice but to put those live and alternate them. The Shipyard is a series where I'm trying to learn how to model a spaceship in Blender, and it was really just an experiment for me, and I wasn't going to necessarily even go with it. I was going to make those episodes, and I figured if I got to half a dozen and still was enjoying it, I would carry on making those things. But I didn't know if it was actually going to work out that way. If it turned out that I got discouraged or that I lost interest in that subject, I was just going to have it so that those episodes would never see the light of day. That's still a potential possibility that I'm not going to really get into that enough to sustain a thing. But now I've put episodes live because I needed to, and Wing Commander CIC linked to the first one now, so I got about 200 views out of it when I wasn't really not expecting it. So I can't really discontinue it quietly now. I guess I'm in that premise for the long haul. Something you can get for free. I'll just I think there's going to be about 4 episodes, and then I guess it'll come back at some point in the future. But it's really thrown my schedule for my intended schedule for uploads completely out of the window. I don't quite know how I'm going to make this all work again. I think maybe what I'd like to do in the long term is have a couple of concurrent series running at any one time, and vary those as the year goes by. So maybe sort of 6 weeks at a time there will be a Let's Play, there will be a GeoGuessr, say, if I bring that back, and then so 6 weeks later we switch to 2 more series. Now this is interesting. I've just got a might buff out of a fountain there. 5 permanent might points from a fountain that also killed me. This is a really novel way to skill up here. Fortunately, it's right adjacent to a temple, which will charge a few gold to resurrect the character. So we are getting permanent might buffs for all 4 of our characters here, only at the cost of their lives. I really hope, because I have gone ahead with doing this, that their deaths here haven't negated some other advantage that only applied until they that only applied while they were alive. Not 100% sure of the mechanics of this, but I hadn't saved when I sipped that fountain, and I had no idea that it was going to do it, so I kind of committed myself, unfortunately. The other thing is, of course, retro histories, which is really the thing that I should be spending more time on rather than these Let's Plays and things. The thing I think I'm proudest of. I've got 2 episodes of that in the pipeline. The one that I'm working on at the moment is is one on Bungie. Hang on, let's just talk about this. So this is the trainer for the not the trainer. This is the admission to the Guild of Dark Magic. I wasn't sure at the time whether this would do some negative damage to our reputation, but it turns out that joining the guild doesn't. In fact, the Dark Magic Guild doesn't have a whole lot of negative effect. Using those dark spells, which are, for the most part, more destructive versions of other elemental spells in the game, it doesn't make you evil or anything like that. The only link between reputation and dark magic, it seems, is that in order to attain mastery in dark magic, you need to have a very negative reputation. Otherwise, it's off limits to you. The reverse is true for light magic. You need to have a very positive reputation to attain mastery there. But just joining and buying spells and casting them doesn't, I mean, it may have some negative effect on your reputation if you're going around killing civilians, for example. But if you're not doing that, then it just works like any other spell. A second fountain here has the effect of boosting endurance by 5 points. Endurance affects our hit points, and so that is absolutely worth doing. What I didn't try is whether this effect is just a one-time effect per character, or whether it's something that's repeatable, but I hope that I can come back and try that, at least with one character, to see if there's a way to get more than 5 points of endurance or might.
Can we assist you?
No more news to report on the whereabouts or activities of John Van Cannigan, which I've reported on in previous episodes. He does have that startup, JCME, going, but there's currently no announced products, as far as I can tell. I'm going to keep looking at that periodically because it's something to talk about, and I'm in desperate need of things to talk about in these Let's Plays for like 15 or 20 minutes a throw. Okay, I think we've gone everywhere we can go. The only place we haven't is in the Dark Guild here, and that's not open for another 4 hours, so we're just going to wait that long and just check out what we have in terms. Now, none of our characters actually can use these spells, but I just wanted to. We have no money to buy these. I just wanted to check out what they did. There is a nice buff spell there, Day of Protection, that casts a whole load of buffs on the whole party. But for the most part, the spells here are destructive. We have a cloud of noxious gases there. Reanimate seems like a useless spell by my research. It just brings a dead creature back to life, but it's not friendly when you do that. And if you kill it again, you don't even get any more loot or XP, so not sure what that's about. Shrap Metal is a very powerful offensive spell at high level, apparently. So those are the first. That's our first brush with the dark magic skills. We don't currently have any ability to use those, but we'll probably experiment with them at least at low levels later in the playthrough. I'm not sure we're going to go down the line of destroying our reputation enough to attain mastery, but maybe we can. It probably is exploitable in such a way that we can temporarily destroy our reputation in order to do that, and then through, I don't know, temple donations of money or something, boost it back up to saintly in order to be where we want to be for interactions with NPCs and other things with a good requirement. Just killing a few archers here. There were a few back in town as well. They weren't hostile to the townsfolk, just to us. That's typical in this game. No one seems to do anything but turn a blind eye to the heavily armed and hostile creatures in town. But I guess, I don't know, maybe they live there. Maybe it's just us that they don't like. We've got to be a little careful here because we have these archers to take out, but we're also surrounded by innocent townsfolk. We don't want to do any collateral damage there, so we need to make sure that any area of effect spells only target them at a sufficient range that no damage will be done to civilians, because that would be very bad for us. It would turn the rest of the civilians hostile and probably have some effect on our reputation as well. So we're just being as careful as we can be that we're not going to have any collateral casualties here. These fire archers can be quite bad. They can be quite dangerous. But we have quite a lot of stopping power at this point. We have some pretty decently damaging spells. Now that fountain in the middle of the square there did a temporary 30 might. That would have been a lot more useful to have on our characters before we started attacking, but hey, we didn't know. Just a few houses here in the courtyard.
Hello.
But what we're actually here for is the Lord himself. We've got a Shrine of Endurance there. I'll talk about the shrines in a later episode, because I haven't 100% figured out how they work. I think we're just supposed to be at a certain shrine at a certain time of year. I don't know if we have to be sent there first, or if simply being there with the right timing is sufficient. But that is something that I will research and I will get back to you on. So this is Castle Stromgard, the home of Eric von Stromgard, the fourth Lord that we found in this game. Now his council quest is the simple and trivial matter of ending winter in his lands. Now, apparently, there's a hermit on the mountaintop who may be able to help us accomplish that. And then we have our Battle Mage promotion quest. This is Sorcerer to Battle Mage. And what he wants there is he wants to send us to a keep, an abandoned keep, elsewhere on this map to fetch a key which activates the dragon towers. Those are those tall cylindrical towers with a button at the bottom that we've seen in some towns. He wants us to flip those switches with the key, and that will disable the targeting of friendlies on those dragon towers. That's why we got fireballed back in New Haven, because they attack anything that's airborne. Sorry, it's archers that become battle mages, not sorcerers. Sorcerers became wizards. So finding that key and bringing it back here, that is our next class promotion quest, and that will be the subject of the next episode. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.